Platforms like Roblox have come under the spotlight for its potential to spread extremist ideology, especially among teenagers. Now, our series CNA Explains finds that the landscape online is far more complex. Nicolas Ng shows how radicalism takes place through a web of platforms and communities, forming an immersive rabbit hole down which vulnerable youth can fall.
Roblox is more of a platform hosting games than being a game itself. You can run from disembodied memes turned to monsters, shred piles of sensitive documents alone or with friends, or compete in fashion shows. Also, fight on virtual battlefields. But do parents know that? We showed some clips to a few to find out.
We have to be very careful what games they are seeing, right? Because now, like the game which you just showed, I will not like my daughter to play such type of games.
From what you're showing me, I don't know that everything on the platform is necessarily age appropriate for children. And if this is marketed towards children, then obviously there's some issues with that.
This is the same platform that two self-radicalized youths dealt with by authorities since November last year had been exposed to extremist content on.
I've spent the last month trying to understand how Roblox, a game I played in primary school, gets mentioned in the same breath as self-radicalized youths planning mass casualty events.
One factor is that youths at risk of self-radicalization tend to be isolated, which makes a free game playable on phones, tablets, consoles and computers, with tools to explore all kinds of worlds and talk to other players a lure.
When you're in Roblox, you go in, you go into a lobby. There's so many players. You may not know them, but at least you see other people. So that loneliness is mitigated by the sense of being with others.
And while I couldn't find the terrorist training camps or the school shooting simulators they reportedly played, I did find some surprisingly realistic military games.
Roblox, maybe.
I brought my colleague Caitlin Ng in to get a fresh set of eyes on them. Here's a first-person shooter with trenches and drones, two features of modern battlefields.
And what do you think about kids playing this game?
I think a shooter game in itself, inherently having a kid play is not particularly horrifying. But knowing the context as to what this game is about is really quite scary, because I mean it could mess with your head because it's so true to reality, right?
The experts I spoke to say that games like these can be cause for concern, but not because they're violent.
From my own experience engaging with radicalized youth, one factor that is common with these youth is quest for significance. But at the same time, they are lacking in some elements such as confidence, low self-esteem.
In an environment like this, where you have a clearly defined role, an objective, and a like-minded community, that quest can be completed.
The other part that I'm concerned about will be more of who's processing these events with them. Because for a young person to make sense of war is very tough.
Most of the games I found on Roblox don't have extremist content, and it's explicitly banned on the platform. In a response to CNA's questions about how they manage it, Roblox pointed to its AI detection systems and teams monitoring for harms. They also collaborate with law enforcement and safety organizations. From what we've heard about the self-radicalized youths, Roblox can accelerate the process, but it doesn't start it. That happens elsewhere. Take a look at these videos. I've muted it because of the similarities to ISIS propaganda. You can see someone destroying an Israeli-made tank, and this is a suicide bombing. But there's much more where that came from, like this interaction.
Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up.
I found those videos during my investigation, first by scrolling through content about conflict in the Middle East, and then through videos about Roblox. It wasn't long before I started getting recommended those clips. This is a pathway that experts tell me some youths at risk of self-radicalization can go down, and another part of that journey can be discord.
It's primarily built around closed invite-only servers where people can speak over voice calls and communicate over text channels. I got my invite through TikTok. It's designed to give players a place to communicate outside of the games and hosts all sizes, from small, tight-knit groups to sprawling communities with millions of users.
I joined a few servers during my investigation. Here's one of them. It's based around a Milsim game on Roblox, and the people there use it to announce events, influencing their campaigns and to coordinate sessions. But at the same time, it's a space for them to talk and socialize.
Extremist actors often exploit these platforms because they enable private communication, community building, dissemination of propaganda.
Discord also has a direct messaging function, which, if allowed, users get to go onto voice calls, video calls, or just text strangers that they meet online.
Radicalization often begins on mainstream social media platforms before these conversations move into more private channels.
It's worth remembering that everything I've talked about is a small snapshot of a wider picture. There are other ways, other routes to get self-radicalized with other extremist ideologies in play.
For its part, the government is deeply concerned with the growing number of youths self-radicalized online. Responding to questions from CNA about what future steps might be, authorities say that they will review existing levers under the Online Criminal Harms Act and the Broadcasting Act. And it's considering how to deal with platforms like Roblox being exploited to spread harmful ideologies, though it ruled out a ban.
I think the adjustment will be basically having stronger and more frequent consultation with the game to do monitoring. And I think one of the things that's important is to actually raise the awareness and education of the public so that the stakeholders, including parents of vulnerable individuals, particularly young individuals, can actually trigger for help at the right time.
The government says that tackling harmful extremist content is a collective effort and that the public needs to guide vulnerable children.